Today's guest on the podcast is James Newbury, or Newbury, as he says. He is a CrossFit Games athlete. I know I'm a bit of a CrossFit junkie at the moment, but you guys are going to love this episode with him. He is so much fun, incredibly inspirational. He has an adorable accent, and he was super sweet to my daughter. After we got off the podcast, like he went to her Instagram and like sent her a message and followed her. So super sweet guy in that regard. But it's really fun to talk about the training and the nutrition and all the stuff that he's got going on. In this episode, we talk about The Method, which is a nutrition program. So this podcast is actually sponsored by The Method. And the first thing you're probably wondering is, what is The Method? So The Method is an online company providing personalized one-on-one nutrition coaching. And it's James's girlfriend runs this company. So it's very cool. But they handpick the right coach to work with you based on your goals and your training regimen. The Method coaches work with clients around nutritional intake and timing, body composition changes, goal setting, and non-nutrition related subjects like sleep and hydration. So if you mention this podcast when you contact them, you can get your first 2 weeks for free. So it's an Australian website. The website is themethodnow.com.au. And I'll put that up in the show notes and we'll talk about it a little more in the podcast. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode with James Newbury.
Welcome to the Same 24 Hours podcast with Meredith Atwood. We all have the same 24 hours each day, and it's what we do with those hours that makes all the difference between our health, happiness, and success.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Same 24 Hours podcast. I'm your host, Meredith Atwood. Today's guest is James Newbury. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I am in a big CrossFit extravaganza. Like, I am loving CrossFit so much, so I'm talking to all sorts of CrossFit people.
Cool. That's so good.
Yes.
And have you been out to the games before?
Yes. So I wanted to talk to you all about that. So my 9-year-old
Totally.
daughter, we went to a Memorial Day event at our gym, and they played the Redeemed and the Dominant on the wall, and
Awesome.
She was transfixed. I mean, she's 8 years old, and she was like, "Mom, I want to do that. I want to go to the game someday." And I'm like, "Okay, well, that's kind of hard." But, it sounds fun. And so I just had this wild hair. I said, well, let me get on StubHub and see if we can get tickets. And I asked my husband, I was like, are you cool if I take her? Because this is going to cost a fortune. And so she and I went. Like, we went in August, and we were there cheering you guys on for 5 days, and it was awesome.
So cool. Oh, That's good. I'm glad you had a good time.
Yes. And I talked to Cara Saunders last week, and I can't tell you how incredibly impressive it was to watch. I mean, oh my gosh. So let's talk about the games. How was it for you? This was your best performance so far, huh?
Yeah. This year was, different from any other year. Like the preparation going into this year, just, it was so tough and long and like super long days. And, but it was just so precise that it made the games experience like so much better than years past.
So what was different? What was different? You say it was longer.
So I actually spent a lot of this year training with Tia and Shane. So I was up in Gladstone doing a lot of training up there throughout the Open, and then I caught up with them again, for a few weeks leading into regionals, and then I headed over to Cookville and I trained with Tia and Shane again for 2 to 3 weeks leading into the game. So a lot of my training time, at least half or more, was spent, training with Tia, who's, the fittest on earth and has been the last couple of years in a row. And she's a, fantastic training partner. And Shane is, the mastermind behind putting all of her stuff together. And, I sort of just, went with the flow and joined in. And the preparation was super tough. But, they were there to help keep me accountable. And, I could, help try and keep them accountable as well. So it was really fun. But the trainings were super long days. Like some days we would get to the gym at, like 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, and we wouldn't leave until 7:30 that night. It'd just be crazy.
Oh my gosh.
So Yeah, so it'd just be super long days, and but so much fun as well, because we were overseas and training in a different environment, and all we had to do was just, our sole purpose every day was to wake up and to go and train and to get better, and that's just, it's so tough when you're doing it, but it's so simple at the same time. It's just like, let's just go and get it done, and then we just did that all day long. You just got to try and stay focused for a long period of time, but just giving you that amount of work and that amount of volume and that amount of intensity prior to the games, it made the games a less stressful experience, knowing that you'd already pushed yourself so hard and like beyond the point that you could, you would have thought you could have done not by yourself. So getting to the games was, it was, a bit of confidence building, knowing what we'd done prior leading up. So it made the games experience more fun this year round, which was fantastic.
Yeah. So what did you, when you were at the gym from like 8 to 7, what does that even look like? Do you get to shower?
Yeah, so some days we did and some days we didn't. More times than not we didn't, because we were training at Rich's barn for a lot of it. So
Rich Browning, for those who don't know, is technically the reigning fittest man in the world, right? 4-time CrossFit Games champion. Yep. So like the legend, I guess. Right.
And so we were training at his barn. So we would get there in the morning and we might train, say, until, from 9:30-ish, say, through until maybe 1 o'clock or 12:30 or something like that. And then we might have, a 45-minute to an hour break to have some lunch and just to, sit down and get some sun or whatever, just to relax a little bit. And then it'd be like, all right, let's go hit this next session. And then that might go from, say, 2 o'clock or 2:30 through until about 5:36. And then we would probably spend the last hour doing accessory work and stretching and rolling out, and then having a chat until 7:30, sometimes 8 o'clock. Or from after that, we might even go find a pool or do some other accessory work that's not inside the gym. Goodness. It was just it's just a lot of work, but it was super fun because it was so different, and we were getting outside and doing a lot of outdoor work as well. So I guess that's the luxury of being in that type of environment down there in Cookville, is that we could ride the bikes up to Rich's dad's house, and we could jump in the pond and swim, and then we could bike back down, and we could run and we could hike and take the vests out and the packs and go pack marching and stuff. And so it was just super cool and super diverse, and it just kept it really, really interesting for the period of time that we were there. And they had a track near their house, so we could go do we could go out to the track, and we had sprints, and we could do mile time trials and things like that. So it was just so cool. And that's the dream, just to be able to, wake up and say, okay, my sole purpose today is to go and train, to fuel myself, and to go and train again. It's super cool.
No, it's so funny because I agree with you that that's super cool, but a lot of people listening might think that sounds absolutely like a nightmare. Do you ever just think, okay, this is a nightmare and I should just go get another job?
Yeah, totally. You know what? Those thoughts come through your head all the time. And it's just like, sometimes if you're really sort of beat down and you've been through a really hard couple of weeks of training, and you've still got to, push out for another week or so, and you're in a workout and you're not doing as well as what you had thought you might have, or you're not hitting the numbers that you wish you could have, then you think to yourself, oh, is what I'm doing, is it the right thing, or is what I'm doing, do I really want to do this day in, day out? And then, those thoughts do come through your head, but that happens to everybody, and it's the process, and that's part of the journey. It's you have ups and downs, and some of those downs are worse than others. If you don't really if you don't place well at a certain competition that you've hoped to, and things like that. But yeah, you do go through times when you're training and you're in the middle of a really hard training cycle, and you're thinking to yourself, oh, how much longer can I do this for? But but then at the end of the day, there's never been a workout that hasn't finished. So when you're stuck in a workout, or you're doing a long run, or you're doing a big long triathlon or something like that, and you're just like, I don't know if this is ever going to finish.
Right.
It's just and it's just, you're 5 minutes into a 60-minute run or something like that. And then But it all finishes. It all gets to the end. You get through it, and then you get home that night. You have a shower, and you're just like, oh, this is what I was waiting for. Just like to have some relaxed time, and you lie down in bed and think, oh, that was a really productive, good day of training. Like, it tested me physically, and it also, had me second guessing mentally. But I pushed through. I got it done, and that makes you stronger for when you're out on the competition floor, and you're thinking the same thing. Like, oh, are these guys going faster than me? How fit are they? Am I doing the right thing? Am I going fast enough? And all that type of stuff. And then, it's reassurance and mental game building that, all amounts to, being able to push through and overcome certain obstacles, not just physically, but mentally too.
Yeah. I mean, talk about thinking that something will never end. Like, when I do a long distance triathlon, I convince myself that each event that I'm in is the end. Because if I think about, like, if I'm swimming and I think, oh my gosh, I still have to bike, 112 miles and I have to run a marathon, I'll just, it's overwhelming. So I'm like, when I get out of this water, I'm done. And then obviously I go to the change tent and I'm really disappointed to find out I now have to bike. But I really totally do convince myself in that moment that and I mean, I think just chopping up things into manageable portions, because when you're going into the CrossFit Games, if you really think, I have 14, 13, 15 events, like, how can you mentally handle that? It's super overwhelming. And, what you said is exactly right. And that's exactly what, I do as well, even in a workout, like just a singular workout, and just, chopping it up into, parts, especially if you're anticipating, going deep inside that, that pain cave at some point. It's just a matter of, focusing on the next movement that you've got to do and trying to get that done to the best of your ability. So, for instance, if I get a workout, we can even chat Battlegrounds. Like, Battlegrounds was a workout that we had to carry the dummy, 100 yards, and then we had to climb the rope 3 times and then run. Tell people who didn't see it, the dummy. Like,
sure,
this is a human, like, heavy person.
Yeah, exactly. It was like Rescue Randy.
Yeah.
So basically, it's a dummy of a person that is weight rated to be similar weight to a human of that size, and then basically you go on rescue them.
165 pounds, right? Did I read that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we had 75 kilos. It might have even been 85 kilos and 65, kilos, I think. Yeah. So
85 kilos is for
like 185.
Yeah. Yeah.
185 and 165, I think we had. So male and female weight. And so that was like Rescue Randy. And so, for instance, that workout was one that I was really looking forward to because I was running and I love running, and the obstacle course was really cool and funky, and the rope climbs were really cool too. So, but even with a workout like that, like, I just had to think to myself, like, I didn't want to think, about the run while I'm carrying Randy, and I didn't want to think about the rope climbs on the way back while I was still doing the obstacle course. Mm-hmm. So to get the most out of yourself is, okay, how am I going to pick up Randy and how am I going to get him from A to B as fast as possible? As soon as that's done, quickly switch on, okay, how am I going to get these rope climbs done the most efficient way? And is it going to be beneficial to, do them fast or do them at a medium pace or do them slow so I can get onto the run better? But there's no point thinking about things too far in advance. It's like when I go for a surf. If I'm surfing, if I'm about to pull onto a wave and I'm already thinking about, the first turn I'm going to do before I've, stood up on the board or I've jumped into my position on the board, there's a good chance that I might stuff up the takeoff. So you got to take one step at a time, but then be very quick to think about the next thing after you've completed that task. Otherwise, thinking too far ahead of where you might be, and then it comes down to poor performance. So if you're thinking too far ahead, it could stuff up what you're currently doing at that particular time. So I think to make the most out of it, yet one thing at a time. But as soon as that one thing's done, bang, you're on to the next thing, and that's less focus. Just thinking about focus all the time, and also it's a good way to break things up into manageable chunks that aren't so daunting and aren't so overwhelming.
Yeah. So let's talk about the marathon row. Speaking of manageable chunks, how did you feel about that?
Yeah, totally. Oh, the marathon row. Well, I think it was Fantastic event. Maybe not so much for the spectators to watch, but like for some people, I think I heard some people say that was the most fun event to watch. Like I loved it.
I did too. We watched it. Now we stayed we were there an hour and 45 minutes, and my daughter was like, I'm hungry. And I was like, well, you know what? We can go eat. We can turn it on the tube and they'll still be doing this. So let's do
Totally. Yeah, totally. Well, the good thing about the row in my eyes, well, for me, I'd actually done one before, so I kind of knew what to expect. And so getting stuck into that, when they announced it, I was like, oh, bonus. I don't reckon anyone here probably has done a marathon row before.
So you were probably the only one? Wow.
I think potentially. Like when I spoke about it with a few of the guys that were there and a few of the girls, they said, "Oh no, we haven't ever rode that far." So I was just like, so one day, I was just in the gym, and my coach at the time, he said, he called me on the phone, and this was after the regionals, I think back in 2015. He rang me and he said, I just did the marathon row. And I said, what did you do that for? He's just like, someone else in my gym did it, and so I decided to give it a go. And I said, okay, well, I better go do it then. So I walked out into the gym and I'm just like, I'm going to start this row. So I went and started the row and I got it done. It took me a little over 3 hours to do. Then I got off a few times here and there, and I wasn't, pushing the pace crazily or anything like that. So I kind of had a bit of an idea on what to expect and know that, your butt's going to get a bit sore and your arm's going to get a little bit fatigued. And, if you're not hydrating and consuming properly throughout, then you might hit a bit of a wall, especially if you're pushing the pace. You might get a little bit crampy here and there. So I kind of knew what to expect, but I absolutely loved that event. Like I thought that was super cool. Like it was a great test of fitness, a great test of mental ability, and also strategy as well. There was a lot of people that went out really fast for the first, 10 to 15 kilometers and, kind of bit them in the butt. Whereas I think I spent the first 12 kilometers of that race sitting in about 29th position. Mm-hmm. And I saw my name up on the board in 29th or 28th or something, somewhere around there. And I thought, it's okay, trust the process. And Shane and I, we sort of had the strategy that we wanted to negative split the back half. And so that was the game plan, and, hold a reasonable split for the first. And then we wanted to bring it down by a couple of seconds to a few seconds in the last, 21 or so kilometers. So that was the game plan. And stick to the game plan. This is, a long event, and there's no need to be sitting in a great position for the first, 15, 20 Ks, because it's all like the last 15, 20 Ks is kind of where it counts. And I think I went from 29th position in the first, 15 kilometers or so. And then every kilometer thereafter, I was just taking one person at a time. So every K I would, just see meters creeping up on the next person, and then you'd bump past them, and then you would have another like 200 meters or 130 meters to the next person, and then you'd bump past them, and then you'd slowly see it chip away. And it's just like, just held my pace. And yeah, it was super cool. And I think I ended up in maybe eighth spot for that workout. So it was super cool. I really liked it, and I did it all through the nose. So except for the last kilometer. So just trying to stay as relaxed as possible, I guess you could say.
It was really impressive to watch. And after I saw that, I thought, oh my gosh, I want to do that. Maybe I'll do it for my birthday. And because I like doing stupid things that, I mean, not that it's stupid, but it's totally stupid. But, it's something that's really out of my league, like really bad. And so I had told someone at the gym, I'm going to do this. And they were like, well, no one else is going to do that. That's stupid. And our gym was following CrossFit.com's programming for like a couple of weeks, and it popped up as the workout.
Oh, no, wow. That's so like, cool.
This is awesome, because there was a week where there was a lot of the games workouts on the programming. And so, there was only like 3 of us that showed up at 5:30 a.m. to do it before work. And it was great. But the thing that I was most impressed with you guys was the hands, because my hands, I had on gloves, but for days, and the next day for you guys was bar muscle ups or something.
Yep.
It's so impressive. So what do you do with your hands? Are you just Do you have like super tough man hands, or do you have like a hand care thing you do?
Yeah, I actually don't have any hand care protocols that I follow. I never really find that I never really tear too much. I've only probably ever torn quite badly, maybe like 7 or 8 times, maybe
Really?
10. Yeah, so I've had little blisters here and there from time to time, but yeah, I never tend to. I think it just might be the way that I grip the bar and, the way that I grip certain things. It doesn't ever really, take a huge toll on my hands, but I do I've converted. So in my second year of the games, the first year in Madison, I tore my hands on the first day really badly on the snatch muscle up workout on the first night.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, and that kind of plagued me for the rest of the weekend, just with, really sore hands and, lots of blisters everywhere and torn up skin and open wounds. And so after that, I decided, okay, I'm going to go back to grips. And I hadn't worn grips in about 4 or 5 years. So after that, I went back to wearing grips for my, my pull-ups and my muscle-ups. And, it's actually improved my muscle up, like grip strength as well. It's helped it a lot actually, and I could hang on for a lot more muscle ups than I could before. And I don't ever feel a worry to tearing. Mm-hmm. But for the row, for instance, when I first did it back in 2015, I didn't wear any gloves or anything for that. I sort of just gripped it with my fingertips most of the way. And my hands were fine. I didn't get any blisters from that. But then when I did the row at the games, I wore gloves for that one, and they were fine. They were a little bit tender after, but no blisters, no open cuts or anything like that. It was quite fine. I just remember being very crampy at the end of it. That was pretty much it, because I was just trying to push the pace, I guess. But the hands pulled up really, really good, and it didn't affect me for the rest of the weekend at all. No.
So was this your 4th games?
Third
games. So since you're a 3-year veteran, which one was the toughest for you? I know they're all really tough, but which one was the toughest?
I would probably have to say, probably the toughest. Physically, I think the toughest one would have been 2016. Mm-hmm. When we flew out to Aromas, we did the Aromas run. We did the workouts out there, and then we came back. We did the swim, and then we had to do Murph. Mm-hmm. Physically, I think that one was probably the toughest, and we did, we did the double DT. So that was a lot of volume and a lot of squatting. We had a lot of, there was like medium weight to heavy thrusters at the end, and there was heavy cleans. And so I think 2016 was physically the toughest. I think probably last year, so 2017, was, mentally probably one of the tougher ones for me, just with the way I was performing and probably the expectations that I'd put on myself to do well and things like that, and not really turning out the way that I wanted. So mentally, I think last year was probably the toughest. And 2016, I didn't know really what to expect, and I was there to have a good hard crack and have some fun. But it was tough physically. But then I think 2017 tough mentally. Yeah. Yeah.
It gets tougher as you go, doesn't it, mentally, because of the expectations?
Oh, totally. Yeah. And you would know this as well. It's just, when you go and compete, it's like, obviously that there must be, a deep-seated want for yourself to do well, and something that you want to achieve for yourself to, potentially prove something to yourself that you can stick out the training, you can rock up every day, commit yourself to something, dedicate all this time and effort into something to amount to something great. And for athletes, I guess athletes like us that want to go and test ourselves.
Did you just say like us?
Yeah. Oh, you can't tell me you're not an athlete. I treat everyone in our gym. No, you're an athlete for sure. So if you've done ultra long triathlons. You're an athlete.
I'm an athlete, but I just think it's funny that James Newbury just said athletes like us, and he was talking about me. I'm just gonna put that out there. That was funny. Okay, continue.
That's funny. And I just think it's, something that's ingrained, that we want to see results for the effort and the time and dedication that we put into something. And sometimes there's a bit of delayed gratification, and you might have to put in 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years to see the result that you wanted, whereas someone else might put an effort in for, say, 12 months to 24 months, and they may get the result that you wanted in a shorter period of time. But I think that's when we start to look outside the things that are actually really meaningful and really purposeful to us. And it doesn't matter the journey that somebody else is taking. It really matters about the way that you approach your journey, the way that you enjoy your journey, and all those types of things. And you'll be a much happier person focusing on yourself, your lane, your times, your processes, rather than focusing on someone in the lane next to you, or looking at somebody else's achievements and putting expectations on yourself to achieve what somebody else has achieved. If you go out there and you put in 100% effort into everything that you do, and you can, at the end of the day, say, I gave it my best. I gave it my best in every single event. I did my best in every single day of training. And I've enjoyed the whole process. Even if you don't win, or you don't get the placing that you would, say, in your mind had hoped for, at least you'll come away from it and you'll be able to sleep easier at nighttime, rather than putting all this expectation on yourself, because it's a very easy thing to do, and to look at other people's successes and think, well, I want that too, and if I don't get there, I'm a failure. It's just, that's not the case. And that's probably the mindset I probably subconsciously used to have. Yeah. And it is tough, and people, other people put expectations on you. But look, at the end of the day, if you go out there and you're enjoying what you're doing, you're enjoying the journey, you're giving 110% effort, you'll not only be happy with your result, regardless of where you place, but you'll also, you'll be a happier person in day-to-day life, rather than sort of just, moping around and, dragging your feet to every single training session. If you're dragging your feet to every single training session, it might be an opportunity for you to think to yourself, what the expectation that I'm putting on myself to achieve a certain particular goal, I need to, slightly restructure where I'm putting the emphasis on achievement or results, because dragging yourself to training shouldn't be an everyday occurrence. Yeah, sometimes you don't want to go and you have to go, but that shouldn't be an everyday occurrence. And it's not to say that you need to stop what you're doing completely. It's just maybe you just need to reevaluate where you're putting your expectations and where you're focusing your energy into results and things like that. Maybe just slightly shift your brain pattern a little bit there.
I mean, you really have to find the gratitude in every day, or you'll make yourself crazy.
Oh, totally. Yeah, it'll totally. Oh, sorry, my dog's going nuts. Yeah, exactly. And I think, look, that's probably the main thing. You'll drive yourself crazy just focusing on particular results and things like that. Whereas if you can focus on the effort instead, that's always benefited me so much more in recent years. Is focusing on my effort, focusing on
because the training. That's really the true measure, right? That's the only thing you can control all the time.
Exactly.
Effort. Yeah.
Exactly. You can't go out there and control how fit everybody else is. That's just, you can't do that. Like, if that's just out of your control completely. But if you can, focus on all of your controls and focus on your nutrition and focus on your training and focus on your effort and focus on your game plans, then that's giving you the best opportunity to do extremely well.
Yeah. So let's talk about, oh, go ahead. Sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, not at all. No, and that's pretty much it. It's just sort of, I've figured out in the last sort of few years, and it's taking me a little while to understand. But that effort in particular is what's going to make you have a more enjoyable training season, a more enjoyable competing season. And when I enjoy my training and enjoy my competition, I compete so much better, and my placings usually reflect that.
Yeah. So what is your background? You seem like very wise to know all, like, did you have to learn this the hard way, or did you have other sports that kind of taught you this process, journey driven kind of mentality versus end result?
Yeah, I think, so I think it comes a lot from my mum and my dad, especially when it came to, getting into sports as a kid. So my background, I first started off playing soccer with my brother, who's only 11 months older than me. So we grew up quite competitive.
11 months. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
My kids are 14 months apart, and I thought that was bad. 11, that's amazing.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess I was just a bit of, I was just, lucky. I guess I was just lucky. So, or the TV was broken. I don't know. So like we grew up quite competitive, and like we had a really good time, racing each other and, shooting hoops or playing soccer or football or kicking the ball, who can kick it the furthest and things like that. And then as I sort of got older and I wanted to get into some individual sport, I got out of soccer when I was about 8 years old, and I got into athletics. And when I did athletics, I wasn't very good. Like the first week I went out to Little Athletics, I came last in my 70-meter sprint, and I was like devastated. I was like, how can I be this slow? How are these other kids faster than me? And then, probably one of the things that I always come back to about competition and getting competitive was we had just moved from Sydney to Adelaide, and I had just started in a new school, and I had just met a girl there. She was in I think we were going into year 3, and she was at Little Athletics as well. So I saw her at school, I saw her at Little Athletics, and then her dad came up to me and he said, last week I saw you run your 70-meter sprint, and your eyes were in other people's lanes, and you were looking at the person next to you while you were running, and there was no focus. And as an 8-year-old kid, I kind of didn't understand what he meant. Like, it's just like you go for a race and you either win or you don't.
Right.
And so then he kind of explained to me, he's like, I want you to focus on the tree line behind the end of the 100-meter track. I want you to focus on that. I don't want you to take your eyes off it for the whole race. And I thought, okay, that seems easy enough. I'll do that. And so we kicked off the race, and I won. I couldn't believe it. Like, there was a massive turnaround in 7 days. And I won this race. And as soon as I won that race, I was like, oh my God, it worked. Yeah. I was like, it's as easy as that. All I have to do is focus on my own lane. And, that was probably a starting point for me getting quite competitive with other people other than my brother. And
that is such a valuable lesson, though. I mean, gosh, if someone had told me that at 8,
Yeah. Well, I think it was just, lucky that he came up to me and he took the time just to give me that piece of advice, because that completely changed my whole, I feel like it changed my whole sporting career, or the pathway that I was going to take. Like, I may have received that information a month later and it may have had no effect, or a year later and no effect, or 10 years later and had no effect. But I think getting it at that point in time, at that crucial moment, that gave me the drive to want to go back to athletics that next week, but not only win the 70-meter sprint, but I wanted to win the 150. I wanted to win the 800. I wanted to win the shot put, the high jump, the triple jump, the long jump, the discus. There's nothing that I didn't want to win. And if I didn't win, I was always then looking for that, little piece of advice that might just be the tipping point, whether it's, not a massive physical increase, but more of a focus increase, where it could be, if I just focus on, say, looking at that tree, or looking at my hand, or, focusing on my hip drive or something like that, that might be the difference between, coming second or winning. So then I sort of had this mindset as a young kid, and there's always ways to improve, and it may not be, 3 months of training that could be the difference, but, just little focus points that are more important, as well as the training. So, and then, after that, it was, my mum and my dad were always, extremely supportive of, so I'm one of 6 kids. Mm-hmm. So they're always extremely supporting in terms of, getting me to practices each night. Like I think I had a training session at something at something every night of the week, and mum and dad would always get me there regardless. They'd always put, everything that they wanted to do on hold for us kids. So I continued doing athletics and continued doing whatever I could get my hands on: surfing, football, rugby league was a big sport of mine as well. And I remember getting to the States, so our state championships for little athletics, and like I was going there and I had hopes to, to win the 100 meters, win the 400 meters, win my shot put, and win my high jump. They were like the ones that I really wanted to win. And I got there and I think I came like maybe 7th in the 100. I think I came 4th by, 0.1 of a second in the 400. And then I won my shot put, and I think I came 4th in my high jump. And I said at the end of it, my dad was driving home with Dad, and he said to me, "Imagine if you actually trained." And I was only, 10 years old at the time, and all my training that consisted was, going to Little A's on a Sunday morning, and just competing in the events as you go around, and every 15 minutes you just, you hear a whistle and you move to the next event. So I thought, training. Okay, so how is training going to get me any better at this, Dad? And he was just like, he kind of, briefly explained. I was like, all right, cool. Can you make me train? And he's just like, no, if you want to train, you'll get up and you'll do it yourself. And I thought about it for a while, and I didn't do anything over the next few months, and I didn't get up and train, and I always bugged Dad. I said, oh, when you come home from work, can you force me to go train? And he was like, no, I'm not going to do that. So I think that was a very valuable lesson in itself. And eventually, over the next couple of years, I started realizing the benefits of training, and I started doing my push-ups in my bedroom and doing my sit-ups in my bedroom, and
what do you think changed? Like what changed from wanting your dad to kind of push you to becoming self-motivating? Do you remember, or you just said, well, I guess I better do this myself?
Well, I think it was just a real urge to want to win in the beginning. Yeah, to win in the beginning. And I didn't it's not to say I didn't enjoy it, but I wasn't as happy going to a state carnival and coming 4th only by such a small margin. It's like I really wanted a medal, and I was just like, well, you know what? If I want that medal, I'm going to go sit in my room. I'm going to do my 150 sit-ups. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to see if it works. And then it just sort of came ingrained in what I did. And if I wanted to get good at something, then I would outwork everybody else who was doing it, or I would try to outwork everybody else who was doing it. And then when I started to see little bits of, positive results here and there, then like, okay, this stuff works. Like, how far can I push this? How far can I go before I get to, doing too much stuff? And because I was doing such varied stuff all the time, it never really got there. So, one day I'd have footy practice, the next night I'd go surfing, the next night I would go and, hit a 3 or a 5K run around like my local area. And then the next night I'd be back out at football training. And so it was so diverse and different. And you're only a kid at the time. You never get worn down. So, yeah, and then it just all sort of amounted. And then I started seeing good success in other areas like my football and things like that. And the feeling of, seeing good results for the effort that you put in, it's just so much more satisfying. Whereas I feel like if I didn't try as hard in training, for instance, I still got those results early on, I wouldn't have appreciated them as much. Whereas I had to work really hard to see those, those little successes here and there. So it urged me to, put in more effort. And then if those successes, continued, then it'd drive me even more, and it'd make me feel more fulfilled and happier. And then, I've just got this, I guess it's, been ingrained. I don't think it's like a natural thing. I think it's almost I think it's actually a learned thing, is, it's a snowball effect. And I just really enjoy getting the most out of my body and performance. Like I love seeing like how far I can push myself to be as good at as many different things as I can. It's just always been the case ever since athletics, when it wasn't just the sprinting I wanted to be good at, but I wanted to win everything. It wasn't, I wanted to be the fittest, the fastest, the strongest, the best at everything. I wanted to win all the arm wrestles at school. I wanted to, I wanted to win the beach sprints when I was down doing surf life saving. I wanted to, it was everything. I just wanted to be good at everything.
You were literally like CrossFitting before CrossFit was a thing.
Pretty much,
I want to do all these things.
Yeah, totally. And that's always been the case. And when people do ask me about it, and like especially if people come into the gym and they say, I want to go to the CrossFit Games, I'm just like, oh, that's, fantastic goal, and it's a big goal, and it's lots and lots of fun. What have you been doing for the last 15 years? And it's like, oh, nothing. Right. I was like, oh, there's so many skills and traits and things that are learned over a long course of time that, a lot of the people that are at the games now have been doing since they were, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. But, it amounts to, and it's not to say that you can't do it at all. Like that's by no means what I'm saying, but it also is, skills learnt through those earlier periods that have progressed and, translate into what CrossFit is today. And not
it's
just
so much mastery. I mean, it's, Robert Greene says in his book that it takes 10,000 hours of something to master a skill. And the earlier you get started, I mean, the more time is on your side.
100%. That's complete. I completely agree. Like that's something that I sort of said, if anyone asked me about like, how did you get good at CrossFit? It was more like, oh, well, I did all these things prior to CrossFit in my early training years that have made me a better CrossFitter today, that I didn't even, if you had asked me at the age of 16 or 17 or 18, like, where do you see yourself in 5 or 6 years? And I would have said, I'll be playing professional rugby league. That's what I'll be doing. I would have never thought I would have started this new sport and have been competing at this level in my entire life. Like, things change, but, CrossFit is so much more suited to, what I enjoy and what drives me every day. Like, what gets me out of bed to either run faster or lift heavier or lift quicker or swim better or, get out on the board or, even to the point of, just going surfing. Like, I love giving everything a go, and, it's all about the experience for me. So if I can see, a positive experience, formulating, then I want to give it a go. Like, it's all about the experience. And I think that's what we can take away from every day. If you can have as many positive experiences as possible, and sometimes even the negative experiences, they're room for growth as well. Like, you kind of need those as well to really appreciate the positive ones.
Yeah. So you get to be Dave Castro for the day, and you get to pick the 3 events in one day that are going to suit you the best. What are those 3 events?
Ooh, okay. I would probably say, event one, let's do a triathlon.
Nice. I see in your Skype picture here, you've got a tri-bike.
Yeah. So I've really enjoyed cycling, and I've only got into it the last couple of years. But I've been doing a bit of crit racing, a little bit of tri stuff. We did a duathlon a couple of weekends ago.
So were you excited about the crit for the first event?
Oh my God, yes. When I heard
I was terrified for you guys. Oh my gosh.
I was pumped. When he said, so we all sat down. I'm not sure if everyone got to see it, but when we sat downstairs and he brought out the bike, he goes, everyone was like, oh, we're doing a triathlon or we're doing a duathlon or something like that. And he said, alrighty, guys, we're not doing a triathlon. He goes, what other race can you do on the road that's not a triathlon? And in my head, because I had actually done about 5 crit races leading into the games, like, it was something that was, close to my house, and I'd heard of it around the traps, and I was just like, I really want to give one of those a go. It sounds really fun. And so I did one, and I was just like, oh, this is amazing. And fortunately enough, my girlfriend's younger brother, he was actually into crit racing, and he goes, oh, you should come out for a crit one time. And I was like, yeah, I'll get to it. And I actually went out and I did it. And then in my head, when Dave Castro said that, I'm just like, please be a criterium. Please be a criterium. Please be a criterium. And he said, we're doing a criterium. And I was just like, bonus. Like, 'cause I don't think anybody else there had done a criterium before. Maybe Adrian Mundweiler might have done one or two, but I know he was a big road rider prior to that.
Yeah.
So when they said criterium, I was just like, oh my God, this is so good.
I thought Castro was trying to kill y'all just because, one bad move and 5 people can go down. And the event
totally.
one, I was just horrified, but I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Oh, I had a blast. If I could pick it, it'd probably be like criterium would have, criterium or triathlon could be event 1.
Okay.
And because I do love the bike, and I do love running, and I do love swimming. Event 2, I would love for it to be like a board, like a board paddle, like the prone paddle that we had. Mm-hmm. Something like that into, a deadlift, like a medium to heavy weight, high rep deadlift. So it's like, for instance, you would do, say, a prone paddle for 700 to a kilometer. You'd come back, do 50 deadlifts at, say, 120, 130 kilos, and then you might hit 3 or 4 rounds or something like that. Something like that would be fantastic. And then for event number 3, something else that I really do enjoy would have to be probably something to do with like maybe like a bit of running and like strongman, like farmers carries, mm-hmm. something like that. So farmers carries or like high rep GHDs and high rep pull-ups. So for instance, it could be something like 5 rounds of say 40 GHD sit-ups, 30 pull-ups into say a 50 meter out and back farmer's carry with a 400 meter run, something like.
It's terrible. I'm going to write that down and do that tomorrow. No, I'm not.
Yeah. So exactly. So something like that would be, kind of up my alley with certain things. But I guess this season coming up, I'm trying to, work as much as possible on, having everything in my wheelhouse, if that makes sense, and not having anything so far outside. And I think that'll, amount to, being a better overall athlete at the games and, potentially qualifying with the new system structure and things like that.
Yeah. So is anyone clear on that yet?
Well, it's very hard to say. Look, as far as I know, we have 16 sanctioned events that we can, pick and choose which ones we want to go to. And if we go there and we win, then we get a ticket to the games. If, for instance, someone wins one and then they want to attend another one, they can do so. And if they win that one as well, the person in second place is allowed to go to the games. But if they wanted to go there for either for the prize money or for the extra competition, then they're more than welcome. Same goes for the Open. I'm pretty sure the top 20 in the world get a ticket to the games. I'm not 100% sure on that, but that's what I've heard. And then I believe in maybe 2020, that's when they open up, if you win your region or if you win your country in the Open, like if you come top in your country, then you also get a ticket to the games too. And so in saying that, I feel like the first 2 days of competition at the games are going to have a lot more athletes than normal. But I believe there is a culling process over the first 2 days. So if you rank in the bottom, say 10 or 15 at the end of day 1, then you're out. And then if you rank in the bottom 10 to 15 again at the end of day 2, you're out. And that you don't progress in the competition. And then the last 3 days are made up of, the top 30 or the top 20 that are still around or something like that. I believe that might be the case. So, I think evolution is fantastic, and I think a bit of a change is always good, and no matter how much backlash you get from it initially. But I think it's really cool. Like, I'm looking forward to see how it progresses, and I think at the end of the day, we're still going to find the fittest.
Yeah. Do you like the idea? Do you like how the games are currently set up with the points, or would you find it more exciting to have like eliminations every day, like head to heads? Or do you think that defeats the purpose?
Well, I feel like that would be fun and exciting, and it'd also change up I feel like it would change things up a lot, but then also I don't feel like at the end of the day then you would find the absolute fittest. So if you look at, for instance, someone like Patrick Vellner, who in the past, hasn't gone off to the greatest start of the games, but always makes a roaring comeback and is always, in the, like, on the podium at the end of the weekend after, for instance, let's say a bad day one, if he was to be, knocked out on, say, the end of day one for, a poor event, that wouldn't, at the end of the day, at the end of the weekend, give you the fittest, because, overall, at the end of the weekend, he was in the top 3 fittest in the world. Yeah. So I feel like it'd be fun and exciting, but also wouldn't allow you to, truly find the fittest, because I do believe that's where he was, meant to be.
Well, Vellner just needs to not fall off the net.
I know. Oh my God, how bad was this
They kept playing that over and over at the beer garden at the games, and I was like,
poor
I cannot
guy.
watch that again. And then Fraser's right behind him.
Yeah, and he falls too. Oh my God. Yeah, like I was so glad. Like,
did you manage to not fall?
I didn't fall. Every other year, I've fallen somewhere. I think there's a replay of me falling over at Aromas carrying the med ball up the hill. And it's
yeah, that is you. I remember that. Yeah.
And it just looks a lot worse than what it was. Like, my head like kind of whiplashed, and it looked like my chin hit the ground. It didn't actually hit the ground, but I kind of held my head back, but it did look pretty bad. And there was a nice big thump because I landed on my chest, and it like knocked all the wind out of me. But it was, there's every other year I've fallen somewhere, but not this year.
So does an athlete at your level, like, I deal with constant, and this may be a more female thing, but I deal with constant self-sabotage, and I don't know why I do it. I may do it with my nutrition. I may do it with sleep, but I feel like anytime I get on a progression of really good streak of training or whatever in life, that I'm right there to get in my own way. Do you find that that's something you deal with, or are you kind of beyond that at this point?
No, totally. I completely understand what you mean and what you're saying there. And I think it's something that I have, that I still sometimes do as well. It's like I guess for me, it's more so instead of like a self-sabotage, or it could be a self-sabotage, but it's more of an expectation thing from everybody else. I've gone through phases, and I've learnt to, sort of overcome these more and more as I progress. But it's like, if I'm going into the gym, and if I'm, really beat down, and I've had a really good, stretch of training, and I'm sore and I'm tired, but I'm probably a little bit temperamental at the time. And, something gets in my way of starting my session when I wanted to start my session. There have been times where I've been, so temperamental that something gets in my way of starting my session, and I can't get it started when I wanted to. And now I'm rushed. Mm-hmm. Like, I just walk straight out the gym and be like, go on home, and that's like a self-sabotage thing. It's just like, well, everyone, I used to have the idea that everyone wanted me to train and wanted me to do all these things. And, they just expected me to go into the gym and just, beat myself down all the time, like it was something that was easy to do every day, that I just didn't want to do it, just to show them that I didn't have to, just because they wanted to.
Right.
But that's,
you're rebellious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the complete, wrong mindset to have towards it, because everyone that, wants to see me go into the gym and train, and wants to see me go to the games so they can, have someone to cheer for, and like all these people are my really good friends. They're not in it for the reasons that sometimes you might think that they are. They're 100% backing you just to, have a good time. And, at the end of the day, they don't care where you place. And my girlfriend says it to me all the time. She's just like, if you went to the games and you gave it your best and you came last, like, no one's going to think any less of you otherwise. Like, we're all your friends. Like, we want to see you do well, but we also want it, like, we have your best interests at heart. Like, there's probably some more internal mental things that you're trying to challenge yourself with, that, it's just like, well, today I just want to go and eat bad food, and I'm just going to totally not do what everyone thinks that I should do, just because I've always done what everyone thinks I should do. It's sort of just like, it is a bit of self-sabotage, but yeah, I'm overcoming that and trying to see everything for what it really is at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, I know that, training is something that I enjoy. And if I'm looking at a session and, I'm not so, keen to go out and train, like I have to really just think to myself, but you love training. Like why is something changed, or what's getting in the way of you enjoying this session? And if there's something there that's getting in the way of you enjoying this session, why don't we fix it? Like, why don't we, not book in, five meetings tonight, because that's all you can think about during your morning AM session. Maybe that's not the best thing for you. If you want to do well at the games, maybe don't book those meetings in, or maybe don't book something so close to training, or, maybe pre-prepare all your meals so you're not thinking to yourself, I can't be bothered eating today,
Yeah.
And it's something that you just need to sometimes just simplifying a lot of things just around your priorities can always help. It's just a matter of having a good hard think about what's going to be best for you and the people close to you.
Yeah. So let's talk about nutrition a little bit.
Sure.
Where do you fall on that spectrum? Like, are you really into it? You take perfect care of your nutrition, or are you like just one of those lucky junk food people?
Oh, I'm definitely not one of those lucky junk food people. I don't mind sweet things from time to time, but I'm pretty big on having good, proper nutrition and eating very healthy and trying to get the best quality food I possibly can. So like nutrition is a big part of my life, and I feel like everything is the basis of nutrition. Performance, mental clarity, positive mindset, everything like that I think is formed via proper nutrition, healthy gut, all that type of stuff. So my nutrition is, I don't eat zone, I don't eat full on paleo, I don't eat anything in particular. It's more, I like to try and get very, very, very minimal processed foods, as least processed as I can possibly get them. And I like to eat a broad spectrum of, seasonal fruits and vegetables. And then I do like try and get, lean cut organic where I can, meats and fish and things like that as well. So I'm pretty much nothing is off limits, but I wouldn't, for instance, go and, I don't eat lollies or anything like that. I if I have chocolate, I have, try and make it at home if we can, or I will, get some really good quality chocolate or something like that. But it's very, very rare. I love bone broth. I love sotai. I love things like that. I love, lots of herbs and lots of, fresh veggies and lots of seasonal fruits and things like that as well. But I'm, all about, making sure I hit enough energy during the day, and eating in the right quantities, and then also making sure I'm getting in a stack load of macros as well. So as long as I can get.
How do you do that? Like, what is your guidelines? I mean, you said you or you just try and eat a wide variety?
Well, I'm usually trying to get a bit over a kilo of veggies a day. So that's usually a bit of a guideline for me. If I can get around about a kilo or above of vegetables a day, I'm sort of on the right path there. So I'm getting enough fiber, I'm getting enough micronutrients, a lot of leafy greens, things like that, like broccoli, kale, spinach, bok choy. I'm trying to put them into pretty much every meal of the day. And then and a side note to that is I'm also trying to make sure I get enough energy, because I'm usually so busy and I've got all these crazy ideas about all these things that I want to do that sometimes get caught up, and I get to the end of the day and I haven't eaten anything. So, and that was old James. That's not new James. So that's old James. And that's when I was, running the gym all by myself, and I was trying to train for the regionals and trying to make the games, and I had all these different things on the go, and I was taking 30 classes a week at the gym, trying to run the gym, clean the gym, do the accounting for the gym, and then also trying to train as well. So, that wasn't the healthiest me possible, but now it's more about, making sure I'm getting in enough food and energy to facilitate the best performance I possibly can. And I really got hooked into nutrition when I first met Kayla, my girlfriend. And she was super big on micronutrients, healthy gut, super big on, eating, nutrient dense foods that are going to give you, optimal function, optimal hormonal function, optimal clarity in the mind, hydration and getting lots of minerals into the body and replenishing all the things that we're, constantly churning through every day. And people don't tend to realize, but, if we want to perform, to be some of the best athletes in the world, we need to fuel our body with, the best food and the best supplements and the best building blocks for our body every day. Like if we're putting in crap, we're going to get crap back. So if we can really fuel that body and energize it to just, to be, glowing all the time, then, for one, you're going to be mentally more prepared to take things on, but also physically you're going to sleep better, you're going to train better, you're going to have better relationships, your social life will be better. Everything is just, it compiles. So, and I only see good nutrition as something that's going to last me until the day I die. Whereas, competing is only for a very small period, more than likely at the top elite level. So I see that as, something that's long-term, and I would always prepare for the long-term rather than the short-term gain. I would, if it was an option between, winning the games and, dying early because I've just, winning the games, eating like crap, but it was going to let me win the games and then, die 20 years earlier, I would 100% pass up winning the games if I could eat healthy the whole time and live longer and live happier and live, healthier, for sure.
Yeah, that is so important to hear. And I love talking to you high level athletes like us. I mean, athletes like you.
Athletes like us, yes.
Athletes like us, because it's such a good reminder. I mean, when I was growing up, nutrition, I don't know, we just didn't know as much. I really do believe that. But it never occurred to me that it was, to fuel our body. It just was something we did. And so coming into nutrition in my 30s and later, and just, it's so important for people to hear, because it is, all of this that we're doing revolving around the world is about health. And totally. It's not about like fitting ourselves into this version that looks X, Y, and Z. I mean, it really is about health. And that's what I think is so great about CrossFit, and is often misunderstood about it too, but it is about health and sustainability. And yeah.
Oh, totally. And the relationship between yourself and food, and the business that my girlfriend runs is The Method. And basically what her aim was to create a hub for people to, to a hub of coaches for people to be able to learn and educate and be taught good nutrition, be taught why it's so important to stay hydrated, why is it so important to have a healthy gut, why is it so important to, get enough energy in, why is it important to, try and upregulate your metabolism so, we're churning through energy in an efficient way, and learn all these different things about nutrition, and then also help educate, the wider community on how much more you can be getting out of your everyday life just by having good nutrition and good sleep quality and good self-esteem and the relationship between you and your food, and why sometimes you do choose bad options, and what's the process behind that, and having someone there for you to bounce off to say, hey, I did this today, I don't know why I did it, but then to have a coach there that has been through it, understands it, can help coach you around, to help make a better option next time, or, to fuel yourself for performance, or to fuel yourself to be better at work, or to get up with energy and not feel fatigued, and all these types of things. So what she does is, it's just trying to educate everyone on good nutrition, because we felt like there's, with CrossFit, there's fantastic education and processes, and not just CrossFit, but a lot of other things that are coming out in day to day, like more education on triathlon and running and biking and swimming, and things that are just active. But also we thought there was a little bit of a gap in nutrition education, that it only goes so far at school, and a lot of the things that we learn at school aren't exactly, I don't call them, state of the art. So it's right. It's more about, educating everyone on, some people don't know what a healthy meal looks like. They're right. They're going off the old school food pyramid, and, it's in my eyes, that's probably not the best way to go. But having a place where you can have a coach that can teach you about good nutrition and how so many people have seen fantastic results and fueled themselves to winning Fittest on Earth, or creating a body that they are happy with, and creating a mindset that they're happy with, and all these types of food, and relationships between you and your food, and it's creating more positive change. It's about education, and we thought there was a bit of a gap there, which is how it all got together, and we sort of formulated it into what it is now.
That's awesome. So are you taking some time off? Are you back into training? What's coming up for next year?
Yeah, so I'm back into training now. I've had a bit of time off. I had to get a little eye surgery done straight after the games, just to take off some scar tissue that was on my eye from, a lot of surfing, a lot of glare off the water. And so I had to take some, time off. It was about 3 weeks I took completely off, and a little bit extra, just for some extra time to go, get out in the water and go surfing and do a bit of the stuff that I want to do, play some volleyball and all those types of things, play some touch footy and things like that. And so I did that, but I'm back into training now. Like I'm, back into a lot of my days are double days again now, but we've just moved house. So I'm about 150 meters from the beach, and it's absolutely beautiful weather here in Adelaide. Yeah, it's fantastic. So I've got a lake on one side, which is 50 meters away. I can actually see it from my window right now. And on the other side is the beach. So I'm spoiled for choice here. I can, I can ride my bike along the coast. I can run along the coast. I can take the boards out right here as well. And it's fantastic. So back into full-time training, and just looking at a few competitions that I could probably, aim for potentially next year. I'm looking at probably trying to visit Cape Town and compete in the Cape Town Fittest in Cape Town sanctioned event in South Africa. That's probably one that I'm going to try and hit up and go for the win there. And I just need to knuckle down and get in some good solid training so I can go into that confident and happy.
Well, that's awesome. So one more question for you. This podcast is called The Same 24 Hours, and it means we all have the exact same 24 hours in our day, but it's what we do in those 24 hours that makes our greatest health, happiness, and success. So what is something that you do on a daily basis that makes your best health, happiness, and success?
Totally. So one thing that I try and make sure that is, a constant every day that really kicks my day off is, I have a morning ritual. So something that you can do yourself, or you can make up your own. You don't have to use this one, but, I like to get up. I like to hydrate first. So I like to get in some water, and quality water. I usually let some Himalayan salt sit in my water overnight. So when I drink it in the morning, it's charged full of diluted minerals. But then I like to have a shot in the morning. And so we're actually quite close to Indonesia here. And when we go to Bali, which is a regular thing for us because it's so close, we get these things called Jammu Shots. Mm-hmm. And what's in a Jammu Shot is, some fresh honey, some turmeric, some cayenne pepper, and I like to add in also a little bit of ginger and apple cider vinegar. So I'll have that, and usually that is a really good start for me. If I know I can get up and get a really good, alkaline charged drink first thing in the morning, that's a good morning ritual for me. And then another thing that I like to do is spend some time doing some focused breathing. So just some nasal only breathing for about 5 minutes each morning, and that usually kicks me off. And you can do it in bed before you even get out of bed. You can, set your alarm for 7 a.m. or 6:30 a.m. or 6 a.m. and just sit there and just do big, deep inhales through the nose to really get your body oxygenated, get you flowing, and then you get up, you get hydrated, and you put back in some minerals that you may have lost overnight, and really resets the stomach to start doing what it's supposed to do and reset the digestive system. So that's the morning ritual that I think kicks me off to a really good start. And once I've done that, I find that I'm really productive throughout the day because I've already ticked something off the list that's so important to me, which is, healthy nutrition and proper breathing practices.
That's awesome. I could talk to you forever. I want to check back in with you before the games.
Oh, let's do it. I'm
I would
happy.
love to do that.
Totally. I'm sure we could do at least another 2 or 3 hours at a minimum.
Yes. Well, and I'm sure I'm not going to get away with not coming to the games now that I've taken my daughter once. So,
well, you're going to be stuck in that for the next, 10
like
years
100
until
years.
she's there. Until she's there herself.
That's right. And I wouldn't
That's
put it
so cool.
past her. She's very self-motivating already. So it's going to be
That's so
interesting.
good. Oh, well, if there's anything I can do to help her out, let me know.
Well, so she has an Instagram. Like if you want some giggles, her Instagram is called WADS 4 kids. So WADS for kids.
Yep.
And she's been putting out her own WADs, and like I got her at the local CrossFit gym. So if you want to go give her a hi, she would probably love that.
I will honestly, I will do that right now.
That's awesome, James. Well, I appreciate you so much, and just thanks. This was really great, and we'll try and catch up, next season.
Oh, it's so cool. I'm so thankful that you got me on today. I've had a ball.